Effective from Monday, 28 June 2021, the CVR exercise will commence nationwide and carried out continuously for over a year until the third quarter of 2022.
There you have it, the official declaration of intent by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, further itemizes the political itinerary.
Emphasis will initially be on Anambra State, where more centers will be established in view of the governorship election already scheduled to hold on the 6th of November 2021.
All things being equal, from what INEC has in place, all should be well. But the first state mentioned for a test run, Anambra, is already showing signs that the process might be in for some rocky times. Built to take place in November, parties have already started brandishing notices of participation. Unfortunately, violence is already threatening the poll 8 months away. The attempt on the life of Professor Chukwuemeka Soludo, a prospective candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, at a town hall meeting on March 31, is a scary indication of what to expect. Sadly, 3 security details were slain in the attack. Before this, Ekiti State recorded its share of violence as a by-election held March 20 resulted in the death of 2 people, with several others hospitalized.
It's not worth dying for. No election is worth dying for, shedding a blood for any elections. So I still won't believe that this has happened.
In Osun State, March 28th, an assassination attempt was made on Mr. Ishola Olateju, a nephew and political aide to the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola. Police investigations are yet to determine if this was politically motivated. INEC has expressed optimism that the election will be hitch-free, but 3 fatal incidents in 1 month seems to be an ominous sign for the journey towards 2023. There is clearly a lot of work cut out for security agencies, as they will be burdened with keeping swords in sheaths. How easy that will be without knowing who amongst the many in the political terrain gunning for one another is a task that may prove difficult.
Let's talk about this a bit more. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by Professor of Political Science and International Relations at Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Professor Jideofor Adibe, joins us from Abuja. Thanks a lot, Prof, for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
There's a lot to talk about, but let's just start off with the umpire now and the move to begin the continuous voters registration this June, and even looking at online registration as a possibility. How do you assess that?
Well, I think, they were supposed, according to INEC, this process was supposed to have started last year, and then it was delayed because of the COVID. It was also, again, pushed to start at the end of this quarter. It didn't, and they had to push it again to June 28th. I think for the government, it presents some opportunities. There are also some threats. One of the opportunities is that it will keep the political class busy. It make it the sense that 2023 is closer. Will make the political class focus on the election, and hopefully they will bring out some of the money they've stashed away some places, and that could help to reflate the economy. That's one way of looking at it, and probably provide some job, even if temporary jobs, to some people. The flip side to it is that it could put governance in abeyance. It's possible that it makes the government even more of a lame duck.
An important aspect of the expectations ahead of the big year is the amendment of the electoral law. We've seen so many people talk about reforms. What do you think is the most crucial aspect to fix, even if we were going to look at just a little aspect, if the whole thing cannot be reformed?
Well, the most crucial aspect, in my own opinion, is outside the powers of even INEC to control. The issue of violence, INEC itself depends on the security agencies. Even the security agencies themselves, you know, there are so many constraints. Look at what happened in Ekiti, what happened in Anambra. There's just so much. You don't know whether these things are politically motivated or part of the violence that is convoluting around the entire public space in the country. So it's difficult. And again, another problem that is outside the purview of INEC, there's very little INEC can do about what you may want to call judicial rascality, where you have different factions getting conflicting judgments from courts of coordinate jurisdiction. You saw what happened in the Imo by-election, where, you know, courts were just granting expert motion, and it's just so confusing, and there's just very little INEC can do. Electoral Act says any candidate submitted by a political party, INEC has no powers to change it. So what you then have is that at the end of every election, we are mad with litigations arising from post-primaries. This is not something INEC can handle. Even if electoral reform takes care of it, there is also the issue of the Nigerian factor. So it's actually politics and religion, you may want to say, are the crucial means, the only thriving industries in the country. So it becomes do or die affair for most people. The umpire is the umpire, and it's good to have a good umpire, but the environment in which the umpire operates is also very crucial. And the INEC has not very effective control over its environment.
Right,
and that environment includes the politicians, it includes you and I. You know, the voters who try to manipulate the process, who bring in violence into the process.
Let's talk about the political actors. You've talked about the umpire. Many of them are already talking about rotation of power, zoning arrangements, the unwritten rule about where power should go and who it should shift to, what side of the federation, for instance. Should this be a determinant in any way, looking at electing a new commander-in-chief in 2023?
I think it should, because it's not incompatible. What you call power rotation is not incompatible with merit. And if you look at the whole way our federation is, you know, constructed, in fact, if you have any federation, talents are not evenly distributed, which means you've got to have a sort of affirmative action. But what you have in our own situation is when you benefit from a process, you want then to, you know, once it moves away from you, you want to undermine it. Let me give you an example. In the 2010-2011 zoning and power rotation controversy, some political actors from the north were very, very embittered that Jonathan contested election in 2011, and they said it should have won the turn of the north, that Jonathan should have completed the tenure of Yaradua and then allow power to return to the north. And I believe the election of 2015 was conducted on the shadow of that controversy, where the north felt they were really cheated, that, you know, their own turn. And then the time the power to come to the south, some people would say, oh, no, for the spirit of fairness, the north should be allowed. That one thing that Jonathan did ought to belong to the north. They should complete it. Meanwhile, the Southwest, for example, will say, oh, the power should come to the South, but it should come to them because they played a role in making Buhari the president, which is okay. And some people like Fashola argued that there was an unwritten agreement that the party should support the Southwest to produce a successor to Buhari. Now the problem with that is the Southwest is often in the forefront of accusing the North of a sense of entitlement. And now the Southwest that has taken 8 years under Obasanjo, 8 years of Sibanjo, they see nothing wrong in coming to argue that power should return to them again. Now, even the Southeast that uses marginalization to frame its national politics, you see the same sort of hypocrisy. There are some senatorial zones in that same Southeast where they are completely shut out from being governors because they will tell you politics is a It's a game of numbers. If you go to Benue State, the thieves will complain, but they see nothing wrong in perpetually dominating Benue politics. So the thing we have to think about this zoning and power rotation is that it brings out the hypocrisy in our politicians.
All right.
When it is going to benefit you, or when you want to use zoning and power rotation to gain power, then it is okay. But if you don't want, if you say abrogate it, as Governor Bala Mohammed is arguing, then be ready also that there should be a clamor for the abrogation of anything that resembles affirmative action, including, for example, the cutoff points for different states into the unity of federal government colleges.
All right,
so
Prof,
it is not, it just brings out the hypocrisy in all of us.
Yeah, I'm afraid we have to leave it there, Prof. Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Jideofor Adibe. Thanks a lot for sharing that on the News at 10 tonight.